I'm going to talk through some of the settings that you can make to personalize your digital experience. So make sure that you're in Salesforce and that you're on the setup. If you're not on the setup, again, you can click the gear and click setup. It's going to bring you to this screen. We're going to search for digital experiences and go to all sites. You could also, if you had more than one site, you would want to come here and go to Builder and go through your settings. You can also click on Settings here. Let's just talk through these settings real quick. So again, if you want to know what your domain site is that you can give to your customers, you would copy that. Again, I definitely suggest that you enable experience workspaces so that when you get into, let's go ahead and open this, you notice you have the workspace option. If you don't, you'll just have a builder option, and when you go into workspaces, it gives you some other options, easier ways to customize your digital experience. Again, you want to display the warning for an unsupported browser. The enable experience bundle metadata API is kind of up to you. If you're doing a lot of Lightning Web runtime components or API components, you're going to want to turn that on. If you're having your customers log in, you can say here the different kinds of customer and partner roles and how many do you want of the different kinds. You can have up to 3 different kinds, and that's for both of them. By default, it gives you 1 role. If you want to allow the editing of partner account fields on opportunities and leads, you can check that. If you want to set up super user access to your digital experience, go ahead and check that. If you want your users to be able to run reports from within Salesforce, you'll check that. And I'll do another video actually on some of the reports and things that you might want to do. Again, do you want to let customers access notes and attachments? You would check that. Can they change the status of a case? If you're allowing customers to open cases and view their cases, you would want to turn that on. Allow users to see contacts that have not been enabled for partner or customer accounts, typically for security reasons, or especially if you're in like a HIPAA or want to make sure that they only see the accounts that 1 are set up for the portal and 2 that they have access to. You would not want to check that. Do you want to allow using standard external profiles? If you allow your users to self-register during user creation and during logon, you would check that. You have the ability to have badges and track like gamification on the site, and if you don't want to do that, you can hide the badges so that they don't see that. Again, if you have a moderator or want a moderator, you could set up some of the rules for that. If you're setting it up for mobile, you could allow links to Visualforce pages. When you set up a new user on the portal, it's going to send them a welcome email. After they get that email, how many days is it going to be good? Because it's going to send them the link to set up their username, or it'll say, here's your username, set up your password. You can have it expire in 1 day, 7 days, or 180 days. Those are your only 3 options. So I just suggest 7 days, because if they're signed up and they're not actually logging in, especially in some of the cases where I'm at with my work, if they're not logging in, we're paying for some of these licenses, and we also don't, it's confidential information that we're sharing through our portal, and so we don't want this just sitting out there for 180 days so that anybody could grab that email and create a password and log in. You can show account relationships. And notice this is one that once you turn this on, you cannot turn it back off, so make sure that this is something that you absolutely want them to be able to see the different relationships that are on an account. Do you want to do external account hierarchy? Again, this is another one that once you check it, you cannot uncheck it. Do you want to apply a login page type to the embedded login? And you want to block redirects to unknown URLs. Again, you would just save that. You can also set up some sharing sets to share a little bit more access and information within the portal or digital experience with them. And then there's some different tools that you can set up for sharing. So we're actually going to open the All Sites and go ahead and click on Builder for the portfolio that I've built. And now we're going to go through these settings here. So if I just click on this little gear icon, defaults to the general. It's showing here's the template that I've chosen. Do I want guest users to be able to look at my site and not have to log in? I suggest that you check that if you're creating a portfolio for potential employers to look at. That way they don't have to create an account and log in. They can just immediately see the information that you have posted out there. Kind of like setting up a LinkedIn account. They could go out and search for your name and see everything on your LinkedIn page. This would be the same concept, that you would turn that on so that they can come to your Salesforce portfolio or your digital site and see everything without having to create an account. And then what do you want your title to be? And again, here's the status. It's published, and if you're handing out your or putting a link, I definitely suggest putting a link to this portfolio on LinkedIn. This is the link to the actual portfolio. And you could also put a link, a copy of this link in your resume, any other website, or wherever you're at where you're promoting your skills. And then again, you would create a guest user profile back in setup, in the regular setup, so that it shows what they can and can't do within the portal. Again, I've already selected a theme. I can click change here to change the theme. If I'd made a bunch of changes, I could also reset it back to the normal or regular settings for that theme. One thing to remember is if you change this, and let's say that you have 2 columns, or you have different, like here I have tabs or different menus or different options, and I change to a theme that doesn't allow those options or doesn't have that on the pages, it will delete and you'll lose everything, which is not a big deal, except I'm going to create a video that walks through and shows you how to go ahead and create some documentation in Salesforce and publish it to your portal for all users to see. And if you change it to a theme that doesn't allow those, you're going to lose all of that, which again, it's not a big deal, but you're having to manually set up some codes and development and filters to make this work correctly, and just it's a lot of work, so you may not want to lose that. So be very careful when you're changing your themes. You also have a configure tab here where you can configure the default to login serves not available pages. Again, you can click to edit the properties. So there's some of them give you a lot of options of things you've changed. Some of them are not a lot of options. So with the login, there's nothing. It has no properties. You can't change anything. If you want to set up different languages, you could add languages here. You also have a Google Cloud Translation API key that you could validate and save to help with the translation on your digital experience. You have a standard navigation menu. Let me close out of this. Right here is your navigation menu. If you have the ability to create different menus, so if you created a menu or a navigation menu for certain clients and you didn't want them to see your resume, you could hide that option from them just by going in here and creating an additional navigation menu and just not giving them that option. And again, you just add all the menus, set up your menu how you want. You would also create a filter, and typically when you're doing this, it does not apply to guest users. Or what I mean is, if you only have guest users and you're not having people log in, then you only get one navigation menu. At the site that I work at, we actually have 5 different types of customers that will log into our digital experience sites, and we have different navigation menus for each of them because it's a part of the contract that we have with them on how much information they can see. And so again, depending on the type of contract they have, some get more information than others, so we customize the navigation menu based on their contract. Mobile publishers, everything when you're publishing to be able to use it on the mobile app. You have a few different options you can change. CMS Connect is if you have a blog or other CMS data that you want to connect and show in your portal, you would come in here and configure that. Advanced goes into Google Analytics. If you're into programming a little bit more, like HTML or your JavaScript, things like that, you can come in and make some changes here. Security and privacy, on these, I suggest that you leave it as the recommended on all of the options. And then just come in here occasionally and just check the CSP errors and make sure that you're issue free. Issue free so that there's no issues out there for it. If again you're a programmer and you don't want to use the digital experience options here to create your site, you can export this either a page at a time, the template, a theme, make changes in another program, and import it back in. Then you can install updates for the template. So if Salesforce goes out and makes some changes, color changes, adds additional features and functionality, you would come out here and you could just update it to get all the new functionality for your site. So again, that's just a quick overview of all the settings available in your digital experience.